Hey Tina, happy March. Can't believe it's been a year since we've been working from home. Um, Definitely been a very sort of long and fast year at the same time. Um, it took me a while to record this because I was looking for a short story to read. I figured, I don't know, in terms of reading material or even audiobook material, maybe you wanted something uh, to entertain you. And so I took some time to look through some like good short stories that would not be 500 pages of stuff that would have to read, but something light and fun that I also hadn't read, so we can sort of just read through it together essentially. Um, from a I think this is from like a Reddit thread. I got a recommendation for this book called Journeys of Simplicity, Traveling Light by the author Philip Harnden. It's like a collection of short stories about travelers throughout history and the things they pack on their journeys, as they set out in the world. And so I figured I'd read maybe like a chapter or two every video recording. Um, and feel free to not listen to it if it's not your jam, but I hope you enjoy the sound of my voice. Okay, so let's see. I was just flipping through the tables of contents. There's a bit of a small forward before the actual stories begin, so I'll read you those. I travel light as light. That is, as a man can travel who will still carry his body around because of its sentimental value. This is a poem by Thomas Meredith, the vagabond soldier in Christopher Fry's play The Lady's Not for Burning. And there's another poem, or actually an old Inuit song in the foreword as well. I think over again my small adventures, my fears, those small ones that seem so big, for all the vital things I had to get and to reach, and yet there is only one great thing, the only thing, to live and see the great day that dawns and the light that fills the world. So, two poems about traveling and traveling light. Okay, now there's a little bit more of a sort of forward. I'll read that and then maybe one or two of the short excerpts in this book. On traveling light. 1,200 years ago in China, a middle-aged man named Pang Yun loaded everything he owned onto a boat and sank it all in the Tunting Lake. After that, we are told, he lived like a single leaf. See him there in the early morning, treading water in the middle of the lake, watching the last bubbles rise from the depths. The air crisp and quiet, the lake misty and still as sky, then turning, stroking towards the shore. Justine Delacourt, a French Quaker, was forced to leave her home at Fontaine-l'Aveugle when the German army invaded France in 1914. But first she planted her garden, saying, I would rather they found something to eat at my house than that they should have to steal from others. See her kneeling, covering the last seed, patting down the moist soil, the warm spring sun, the full scent of the earth rising to her, the odd and distant thunder, then standing, turning, walking away. Traveling light, imagine this meaning, unencumbered journeying, a graceful way of traveling through life like a single leaf. Now imagine another, the light by which we journey, the light that shows the way, our traveling light. What would it mean to live like a single leaf? What would it mean to make one's journey a journey of simplicity, a journey unencumbered, uncluttered, without distraction, a journey of focus and intention, a journey of lightness and light? Quakers say that a divine flame shines within each being, every being, all beings. Would such a light remind us that after they steal our homes, the soldiers will be hungry? And to see that deep light in ourselves and others, must we first sink the boat? In 1889, at age 17, my grandfather left family and friends in Sweden and sailed to America. He packed all his worldly goods in a small wooden chest. Today, I have that chest near my writing desk. Its wooden slats weave around a rectangular frame. The hinged lid curves upward. The wood itself, now broken in pieces, has darkened. Pondering this old chest, I see a young farm boy, fear and adventure in his eyes, setting aside all but the essential as he packs for his journey, summoning from within himself a quiet simplicity. I watch him board a boat in the early morning mist and launch into the deep. I have not traveled much myself, but I do keep some handsome suitcases in my attic. Also, 2 backpacks, 3 knapsacks, and a duffel bag, a briefcase, several tote bags, a canvas rucksack, an ash woven pack basket, 3 sleeping bags, and a tent or two. Looking at my grandfather's wooden chest, I realize it could not possibly hold everything I now require for a summer picnic. And unlike Peng Yun, I cannot imagine where I would find a boat large enough to row all I own to the middle of some lake. Evidently, I intend to keep my worldly goods very much afloat. Why? Do I lack the necessary lightness, the necessary light? For a number of years, I have collected lists about traveling light. Most arose from journeys people have taken, place to place, day to day, birth to death. Each list simply describes what was carried, often in a rucksack, something deeper, sometimes deeper within the traveler. I began collecting these lists, I suppose, because I found myself drawn to their spare poetry, a poetry of emptiness. I still do not fully understand why I find them compelling. Do I hear my grandfather's voice? In the pages that follow, I have given each list a brief introduction. The lists themselves retain as much as possible the language, word order, and spelling of their sources. The sources used for the lists, the introductions, and the quotations are given in order of appearance at the end of the book. I offer 3 suggestions to the reader. First, approach these pages slowly and quietly as you would a sleeping child. You could no doubt read them all in one night, but then you would lose your rest. So instead, read a few pages at a time. They have stories to tell, questions to ask. Where do our journeys take us? What do we leave behind? What do we carry with us? How do we find our way? Second, take these stories seriously but hold them lightly. Do not be disappointed or deceived. Remember that soldiers bent on massacre may sometimes travel as lightly as monks on pilgrimage, and pilgrims themselves may bear their own peculiar baggage, their own destructive schemes. And third, ponder this mystery. We take delight in things, we take delight in being loosed from things. Between these 2 delights, we must dance our lives. After sinking all his worldly goods, Peng Yun devoted the rest of his life to his family, to Zen, to poetry, and to wandering, like a single leaf. Okay, so that's the lengthy foreword. I'm glad actually the author suggests to read a few pages at a time. That way we can sort of break these excerpts apart in each recording. So I'll read maybe like the first 2 stories for you, and then record another one for you maybe next week. Let's see. So John Muir, who was born 1838 to 1914, was a Scottish-born American naturalist, inventor, writer, rover, and crusader for wilderness preservation. John Muir was a lifelong pacifist who moved to Canada during the Civil War conscription. He was a mechanical wizard who refused to patent his inventions because, to quote, all improvements and inventions should be the property of the human race, unquote. When a factory accidentally blinded him, young Muir resolved to devote the rest of his life to the study of the inventions of God. Upon regaining his sight, he set off alone on a 1,000-mile botanizing walk from Indiana to the Gulf of Mexico. Only by going alone in silence, without baggage, can one truly get into the heart of the wilderness, he wrote. All other travel is merely dust and hotels and baggage and chatter. And then on the next page, the author lists out the number of, like, the items that these travelers and explorers carried with them. And so in John Muir's 1,000-mile walk to the Gulf, in a rubberized bag, he carried a comb, a brush, a towel, soap, and change of underclothing. He also had a copy of Burns' poems, Milton's Paradise Lost, Wood's botany, a small New Testament, so the Bible, a journal and a map, and a plant press. So, all items very useful to someone who concerns themselves with plants and the study of plants. I'll end it there, but I'll read a few more in our next recording. I hope you're doing well, Tina, and I hope you enjoyed these stories. They're very chill and, you know, let me know. All right, bye.